Hello and welcome to the Targeting Doctor Mastermind series. Here you'll find advanced strategies to accelerate your practice growth in the medical market. I'm Dr. Vicki Rackner, your host. Today I'd like to talk about medical litigation, what it means to doctors and what it means to you. Medical malpractice is the monster under every doctor's bed, and this topic is veiled in secrecy. Today you'll learn the facts about medical malpractice. For the first time, I'll be sharing my own experience being sued. And third, you'll learn how to take this information that you can leverage as marketing tools to help you acquire more physician prospects and add value to your clients. Every doctor is guided by the same principle. First, do no harm. Unfortunately, some patients are harmed as a result of getting medical care. Why do bad medical outcomes happen? There are three reasons. The first is the disease process. No matter what medical science does, there are some diseases that elude treatment. Second, there's chance. You might be an excellent driver, but if a drunk driver plows into you, you're still harmed by the accident. And then third, there's human error. You might remember this special study from 1999 from the Institute of Medicine that says that 98,000 people die in the hospital each year as a result of preventable medical errors. That makes preventable medical errors the sixth leading cause of death in the U.S. A recent study from Health Affairs says that this might just be the tip of the iceberg. We could be looking at numbers 10 times as great. When patients have bad outcomes, at one point or another, most wonder, should I sue? Well, here is the strict legal definition of medical negligence and the 3 points that patients must prove in order to prevail in a medical malpractice lawsuit. First, they must prove that the physician violated the standard of care in that community. Second, they've got to prove that they were harmed. And third, they must prove that they were harmed as a direct result of the violation. Let's take a relatively common case, an appendectomy. We know that one of the complications of appendicitis and the surgical procedure to remove it is a surgical infection either in the skin or as an abscess. To prevent that from happening, the standard of care is to administer antibiotics preoperatively. Well, let's say in one case the anesthesiologist forgot to deliver the antibiotics and the patient did fine. Would they have a case? Absolutely not, because they have not been harmed. Let's say that the anesthesiologist forgot to administer the antibiotics and the patient got a wound infection. Would they have a case? Well, that's questionable. The physician violated the standard of care, the antibiotic was not administered, and the patient was harmed. The patient did have an infection. So the plaintiff would get an expert who said that had the antibiotics been given, the infection could have been avoided. The defense would get a different expert who would say that even if the antibiotic had been given, the patient still would have gotten an infection. It's a known complication. Then the jury would decide, what do they believe? There are three basic classes of medical negligence: failure to diagnose, failure to treat, and failure to obtain informed consent. I remember reviewing the case of a young woman who went to the doctor with a breast mass saying that she thought that she had breast cancer. The doctor reassured her that she was too young to have cancer and declined her request for a mammogram. Much later, she was in fact proven to be right, unfortunately. That would be a failure to diagnose. In a different case, a man was taken to the emergency room for a heart attack. The emergency room physician did not give him the medicine that would break apart the blood clot that was blocking the blood flow to the heart. This was a failure to treat. And in another case that I reviewed, the right operation was done on the wrong patient. What had happened was this patient was Spanish speaking. She went to the doctor with abdominal pain. The doctor gave her some pills. A couple of weeks later, an interpreter called her at home and told her that she was scheduled for an operation and tried to get informed consent over the phone. The patient went into the operating room. The surgeons did not find any hernias. And later it was discovered that the interpreter had called the wrong patient with the same name. Then there's the miscellaneous lawsuits. Why do these patients sue? They sue because they're angry. Some patients are angry because doctors stopped listening to them. In my own neighborhood, there was an elderly couple. The husband had had a stroke and couldn't talk. He was very ill. The doctors diagnosed him with flu and admitted him to the hospital. The wife kept on insisting that there's something more going on than the flu. Her husband was in the hospital a couple of days before he was diagnosed with ruptured appendicitis. Sometimes patients are angry because they have unmet expectations. Some patients are angry because they feel abandoned. Here's what happens. Physicians are on a war against disease, and it's a zero-sum game. You either win or you lose. When a patient has a bad outcome, it's a loss in some sense. We have a natural human tendency to avoid our mistakes. Patients who have bad outcomes tend to get less attention and time from the doctors. Some even interpret this abandonment as an admission of guilt. And last, they get concerned about a basic lack of human respect. They get concerned when doctors try to pretend that nothing's wrong or minimize what's happening or forget to take responsibility and say, "I'm sorry." What do we really know about medical litigation? Well, this has been problematic. Most of the information that we get is from survey results. So there's a selection bias. Who's actually going to be the one to return the survey? In 2011, the New England Journal of Medicine published some collected objective data about medical litigation. And here's the most shocking finding. 99% of the physicians who perform high-risk procedures will be sued by age 65. So that means that your successful physician clients probably either have been sued or will be sued in the coming years. In the lower risk occupations, the lifetime risk is 75%. The financial damage usually is not that great. In this study, the mean settlement was $275,000. This year, Medscape released a report that summarizes a survey of physicians. And again, this suffers from the selection bias, but here are the findings from this study. Almost half of lawsuits dragged on for greater than 3 years. So 57% of the patients who sued got no settlement whatsoever. And less than 5% got settlements greater than $1 million. And that's an important number because most physicians' insurance will insure them up to $1 million per incident. Let me tell you about my lawsuit and the day that really forever changed my life. My husband and I were eating dinner, and out our kitchen window we saw somebody backing into our driveway, leaving the car running and coming up to the door. My husband went to answer. The man asked for me. I went down, handed me some papers, and said, "You've been served." I looked at these papers and I could not believe my eyes. I was being sued by my patient. I had gone well above and beyond to help. Further, as my husband looked over my shoulders, he was upset because not only was I named, the marital community was named. I immediately called my malpractice carrier, and they were wonderful. They assigned me a lawyer who explained what would happen. The lawyer advised me not to talk with anybody about the lawsuit because anybody with whom I spoke could be deposed. So I was to keep this to myself. This case lasted for years. Ultimately, the case was settled in my favor. But as my lawyer said, even when you win, you lose. Here were the worst parts of the whole experience for me. First, somebody was telling me that they thought I was a bad doctor. And I had this sense of betrayal because the person who accused me of it was somebody I really worked hard to help. Second, I started to get suspicious about my other patients, just wondering, okay, who's going to be the next one to sue me? This whole experience just took some of the joy out of my day-to-day work. This truly was a life-altering experience for me, and I can tell you that there are physicians who are so traumatized by being sued that they ultimately make the choice to leave the practice of medicine. How can you leverage this information? Well, if your goal is to add value to your prospects and clients, medical malpractice offers you lots of chances to do that. You can initiate conversations about the risk of medical litigations when you talk with prospects and clients. You might want to educate them about this risk. Maybe you give reprints of this New England Journal of Medicine article to your existing clients, or you use this with prospects. Maybe you host an educational event where you offer skills to help doctors manage angry patients, or offer skills to respond to bad medical outcomes, or offer tools to set up systems to minimize human error and respond to mistakes once they do happen. I offer a webinar that I'd be happy to give for you called How to Treat Patients So They Thank You Rather Than Sue You. You could invite all of your clients and prospects to a talk like this. You can help your prospects and clients create an asset protection plan. Maybe you bring an innovative solution like captive insurance. You could potentially increase your assets under management a couple $100,000. You can also help physicians understand the risk of lawsuits in a broader way. Medical negligence is just one small part. What about all those people out there who want to sue the rich doctors? Is the doctor adequately protected if somebody trips on their stairs in their home? Are they protected if they rent a car and get into a car accident? Are they protected for their online presence? Their medical malpractice carrier will not necessarily cover them if the lawsuit is a result of their activity online. So you might want to talk with your doctors about getting an errors and omissions policy, especially if they're a public figure. Next, you could host a CME event. Every physician is required to have continuing medical education about the topic of medical negligence and medical malpractice. You can offer tremendous value by being the sounding board for any doctor who is in the process of getting sued. One of the best things that my lawyer did for me was told the insurance company that they should hire a coach for me to help prepare me for deposition and the trial. I went through what I call deposition charm school. A psychologist sat me down and told me exactly how to conduct myself. You can suggest that your clients have that kind of service. Maybe you can form a support network so that the physicians in the group each pay each other $1 to be each other's consultants and have a place where they can share their experience, talk about what's really going on with them, and ask questions. Maybe you do this on a one-on-one basis. Maybe if you know a physician who's been sued, you could ask this person, would you be willing to talk with another person who's really going through a challenging time? They just got served. Medical negligence truly is the monster under every doctor's bed. This gives you the opportunity of offering something of value to the physician prospects and clients who are so very frightened of when it's going to happen to them. You can remind them of their value, and in so doing, elevate your value. Thanks for stopping by today. Thanks for your commitment to serving more physician clients. In our next Mastermind series, I'll be giving you a talk about how doctors can create additional revenue streams. As you know, physicians are feeling squeezed from both ends financially. They see their business costs going up and their fees going down. I'll offer some ideas about how they can maintain their income level with some entrepreneurial ideas. This is packaged in a way so that you will actually be able to give this talk in your community. So look forward to seeing you then. Thanks again. Hope you found this helpful.